Hello everyone. So today we are going to be talking about IELTS. What is IELTS? IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. So why do we give IELTS? IELTS देने के दो reasons हो सकते हैं. One, अगर आपको abroad जाना है study करने के लिए. Second, अगर आपको abroad जाना है to work. Now there are two different types of IELTS. एक होता है academic and the second one is general. Now academic. Why do we use academic? Academic is mainly for study. अगर आपको study करने के लिए abroad जाना है तो आप academic test देंगे. Second one is general. अगर आप वर्क करने के लिए, अगर आप डायरेक्ट वर्क वीज़ा पे अब्रॉड जा रहे हो तो आप जनरल आइल्स दोगे. सो मेक श्योर कि जब भी आप अपने आप को एनरोल करवाएं आइल्स के लिए, मेक श्योर व्हाट्स द पर्पस, इफ इट्स स्टडी और वर्क, एंड देन अकॉर्डिंगली यू हैव टू चूज एकेडमिक और जनरल एग्जाम. नाउ द रीज़न इज कि दोनों टेस्ट में बहुत फ़र्क है. लेट मी शो यू व्हाट्स द डिफरेंस. Now, academic, IELTS and general. There are two different types of exams. दोनों में common होता है only listening and second one is speaking. Only listening and speaking are the two which are similar in both the courses. Otherwise, अगर आप reading देंगे या फिर writing देंगे, both have got different patterns. Hence, it is very important कि जब आप enroll करवा रहे हो, make sure that you are enrolling in the right exam, not the wrong one. Now, bands. How is IELTS bands calculated? What is the scoring look like? Now, let's have a look at that. IELTS के जो scoring होती है, they are dependent on bands, and bands are from band 1 to 9. 9 being outstanding and 1 being bad. So generally जब भी आप study करने के लिए abroad जाते हैं, minimum requirement is 6 for most of the colleges for a bachelor's course. It really depends on your course कि आप कौन से जा रहे हैं, but minimum 6 overall is the minimum requirement for most of the colleges. So you have to make sure at least आपका जो score ho, it should be more than 6 and above. Okay, now what are the countries that are accepting IELTS? Mostly जो countries में native language English है, English which is the main language in terms of speaking, those countries will always want you to have IELTS exam before you can go for a study to these countries. Now countries like Australia, countries like New Zealand, UK, USA, Canada, all these countries have IELTS as a requirement if you want to study there or you want to go to work. Now, next part in our video today, we are going to be talking about the pattern. IELTS का pattern क्या है? Now IELTS is divided into 4 parts. The first one is listening. Second one is reading. Third one is writing. And fourth one is speaking. Now, as I told you before, अगर हम academic और general देखें, listening and speaking are the two which is common for general and academic. However, अगर आप reading और writing की बात करें, तो these two are different in terms of the pattern. Now, the total exam is, so इसमें भी अगर हम बात करें listening, reading and writing, ये आपके एक दिन पे होते हैं, which takes total of about 2.5 hours on one day. And speaking generally आपका एक हफ्ता पहले या एक हफ्ते बाद में होगा, which is only about 10 to 15 minutes test. So what we'll do is we'll start talking with what the listening looks like. Now listening, which is your first part in the exam. Listening आपका पूरा 30 minutes का test होता है. So basically this is 30 to 40 minutes. Reason I'm saying 30 to 40 minutes is इसमें भी आपके 4 parts होते हैं. So which means आपको 4 recordings सुनाई जाएंगी. वो 4 recordings will take about 30 minutes, wherein you will have to listen to these recordings back to back. And after 30 minutes, you are given 10 minutes to transfer your answers from your question sheet to your answer sheets, which makes a total of 40 minutes. Now, recordings. First recording would be more about a conversation. So it's more like a social conversation between two people. Could be anything like on a train station, 2 people are having a conversation about buying a ticket or what is going to be the timing of the arrival, and a very basic conversation between 2 people. That is your first recording, which I would say, as per me, is the easiest recording to start with. Second part is more like a monologue, or which you can also say like a speech. And this is going to be a one-way conversation, but again, it would be more like a social one. So general, a person telling you about social event or something like, but would be a monologue. Third recording would be about a conversation between more than 2 people for up to 4 people. And this is more like in a setting of a training or an education institute. Example, in a classroom, a lecturer is giving lecture to a number of students. Let's say 3 students are there in a lecture, and the professor is having a discussion with those students. So this is a conversation, could be a conversation between students and a lecturer, which could be from 2 to 4 people talking together and having a conversation. And fourth recording is again a monologue, which is like a lecture or a speech. Example, again in a educational setting. So this is the 4 parts of your listening. And to be honest, first jab start hota hai, they always start with easiest. As you go to number 4, it might get a bit complicated. So you have to make sure that you are listening when the audio is played. And these audios are only played once. Let me repeat, they are only played once. They will not play again. तो जब आपको listening में audio के लिए speaker, you will be given headset. So you have to make sure when you're given a headset at the time of the test कि आपके headset में audio की volume, audio का पूरा system ठीक से चल रहा हो. So you can stand up and talk to them in advance. एक बार ये audio start हो गई, then you will not be given a chance. And these recordings are only played once. So you have to make sure when these are played, you are writing the answers at the same time on your question paper, and that is for 30 minutes. ये खत्म होने के बाद आपको 10 minutes मिलेंगे to transfer these answers on your answer sheet. So this is more about your listening. And the listening is same for your general and academic. So you can prepare that in common. That is not an issue at all. Now we come to the second part of the test, which is on the same day, which is your reading test. Now reading test is going to be a 60-minute test. Now this reading test is again divided into 4 parts. So it has 40 questions. Sorry, it's not divided into 4 parts. My mistake. It's divided into 3 parts. Now इसमें अगर हम academic में देखें, as I said, it is different. Academic में आपको इसमें 1, 2, 3. So there are 3 long texts जो आपको read करने होते हैं. They have questions after those texts जो आपको answer करने होते हैं, which is in the academic. So in this video, we are only going to be talking about your academic. General के लिए मैंने एक और video बनाई है, wherein I would be talking more about what is the pattern looking like in general exam. But for this one, just we'll stick with the academic test. So in academic, you've got 3 long texts. These texts can be more like descriptive हो सकते हैं. They can be factual. These are taken from books and journals, newspapers, magazines, and they are not very easy, and they are not like a story. They are more like a description or facts or about any political issue. So the task is, the questions for these texts, these can be multiple choice, or they can be more about identifying information, can be about the writer's views. So total you will have 40 questions. You will have 60 minutes to answer these questions that you have. Now make sure when you are transferring your answers from your question paper, this applies for your listening and reading both, you make sure that you are writing them correctly. If you have any errors in terms of grammar, or even if you've got a spelling mistake, you get negative marking for that. So example, अगर आपने read लिखना था and which was a correct answer, आपने read की जगह गलती से जल्दी में REED लिख दिया, that is wrong. Even though it's read, but spelling mistake, wrong. So there is negative marking. Make sure कि जब आप questions को, answers को question paper से transfer कर रहे हो, make sure your grammar and your spellings are correct. Otherwise, आपका answer ठीक होते हुए भी आपको negative marking मिलेगी. So make sure you are keeping an eye on that. Now, after you complete your reading exam on the same day itself, last part जो आपका उस दिन पे होएगा, that would be writing. Writing exam. Now, writing, as per me, is the most difficult of all the 4 parts of IELTS. Reason is because इसमें आपका grammar check होती है, spellings check होती है, you're writing about your own views, which can be a bit difficult to present at times. So this is the most difficult one. But if you prepare well, I think nothing is difficult. And this test is also a 60-minute test. Now writing, again, we are talking about your academic test. Writing is divided into 2 tasks, 1 and 2. Now first task में अगर हम academic की ही बात करें, तो you are supposed to be writing a report. The report, which should not be less than 150 words. अगर आप 150 words से छोटा report likhoge, then you will be getting negative marking on that. So make sure it's 150 words minimum. ज़्यादा हो सकते हैं, but ज़्यादा भी not too much. So maybe for 150, it's going up to 180, which is all right. But not that from 150 or 300 words लिख रहे हो, that should not be the case. So report. Example, आपको कोई graph दे दिया है, and they are asking you to explain what do you see on the graph. That is one of the examples. So you have to basically write a report of any information that is being given to you in your question paper, and you write 150 words of report. Second part, you are supposed to be writing an essay, which should be not less than 250 words. Now, essay could be any topic that is being given to you, maybe about your political views, or an example about the technology that is being changing. People are moving from newspapers to internet. What do you think? What is your views? Do you disagree? Do you agree? Which is better? तो आपको अपने views लिखने हैं. आपको पूरा ऐसे लिखना होता है 250 words में. How we divide our time here is, because reports 150 words की है, so we spend about 20 minutes doing the first task, and we are supposed to be spending about 40 minutes doing the second part. That is how we divide our time, just to make sure कि हमारा जो paper है वो time पे complete हो रहा है, and we are giving enough time and the desired time to both the task. So this is writing. और ये तीनों part, listening, reading, writing, takes about 2.5 hours and would be completed on the same day. Now last part of IELTS is speaking. And as I said before, speaking आपका same day पे नहीं होगा. It would be either 1 week before or 1 week after. You would be sent a text message or a notification by the team to advise you when you are going to be having this test with the venue, time, and date. Now this test is about 11 to 14 minutes test. I would say speaking test, more than a test, it's like an interview. This is divided into 3 parts. First part, introduction. This introduction is more about you. So, आपने अगर कभी interview दिया है किसी job के लिए, the first question that they ask is, tell me about yourself. Same for IELTS. First question is, tell me about yourself. What do you like to do? What do you not like? What is your future plans? Where do you see yourself 5 years down the line? So introduction. And इसमें आपको कम से कम 4 to 5 minutes के लिए you have to talk. So on the speaking day, once they say that the recording has started, ये पूरी आपकी conversation recorded होगी. Once they say the recording has started, that's when the test begins, and they will start with the introduction, wherein you're supposed to be talking for at least 4 to 5 minutes. Second part is the task card. Now, what is a task card? Task card is, they have got a number of cards. You will be given a topic to talk on. उसके लिए आपको 1 minute का time दिया जाएगा to prepare yourself. So example, I give you a topic. I want you to talk about the government today, for example. I give you 1 minute of time to prepare. 1 minute आपको सोचने का time मिलेगा. And after that, 2 minutes is the time जिसमें आपको continuously you have to talk about on that topic. So 2 minutes से ज़्यादा होएगा. So the assessor, the interviewer, he will stop you from there and will ask you to move on to the next question. But 2 minutes is the minimum time that you have to talk about the topic. And the last part would be follow-up. So that's more like a follow-up questions. So follow-up question is more like आपने जो intro दी है, that is done. जो आपने ये second topic पे बात किया है about the topic that you had a 2 minutes speech, I would say a 2 minutes आपने जिसके लिए बोला है, उसी के regarding they will start asking you questions, and this conversation goes for about 4 to 5 minutes. So about whatever we have discussed, they will just start talking about that. So it's more like a conversation between you and the interviewer for another 4 to 5 minutes. And this is what your speaking test will look like. So I would say कि कोई rocket science नहीं है IELTS. It is very simple. It's all about the pattern, how much you know about it. It's all about the practice. So if you practice well, you know the pattern, I don't think it's very difficult, and it's very easy to score at least 7+ bands in IELTS score. But make sure that you are preparing well before you're going for an exam. So here we have come to an end of our first video about IELTS introduction. My next video I would be doing would be talking about different topics that we have in IELTS, the different tasks. So starting about, my first video would be about preparation for listening, followed by reading, writing and speaking. So thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe and follow. Thank you. Bye.